you're trying to seize the conversation, which always works politically in America. What we're talking about now, climate change, this is not an easy conversation for any news program. It is complicated. Both sides have statistics.
Well, I don't know about that, because I've seen a lot of things that get coverage in terms of fire and brimstone. You have movies, Day After Tomorrow, you have An Inconvenient Truth, particularly when storms come up. I mean, Superstorm Sandy, you certainly had that narrative, the number one thing being focused on. In general, people who are opposed to different kinds of technologies, including nuclear, you see that all the focus is there. I mean, for example, the Green Movement is even more anti-nuclear than anti-fossil fuels in most cases. And with Fukushima, what you had is a tsunami that kills 20,000 people, and the nuclear plant directly, and we can discuss indirectly, doesn't kill anybody, and I don't think indirectly we had any deaths. And historically, nuclear is the safest form of energy ever devised, far safer than fossil fuels or solar or wind or whatever. And everyone just focuses on, oh my gosh, this nuclear radiation is going to kill everybody. So I think there are these hell narratives that we have associated with our technology is going to kill us.
So, sure. We have some. We also have a daily barrage of technology has changed our lives. Every single commercial, every single celebration of Apple. There's been 7 Steve Jobs movies in the last 3 years, and they're all, the toughest thing they might say is, he might have been an ass. But this is all celebratory. Every commercial you see, every car commercial. I mean, I don't. You're going to have a tough time convincing me that the energy industry is under siege.
Well, it's interesting because you are, I think, correctly lumping these things together under technology. And what's interesting is that was done in the 70s, where they talked about all the different forms of energy, including fossil fuels, as technologies, and talked about, because technology is really the modification of nature to suit human purposes. But today we kind of equate technology with digital technology, which we tend to have a favorable view of, and people don't think it has any environmental impacts, which is completely bizarre, but nevertheless, they just think of it in isolation. And then there's this other realm of energy, and that's thought of as industry. So there's this dichotomy between, it's a false dichotomy between industry and technology, and generally industry has the hostility and technology is viewed as good. And I don't think that's coherent, but I think it's part of the reason why when people see a big industrial project, they tend to have negative feelings and are prone to believe something catastrophic. And when they see technology, they're prone to believe something positive.
I'm not really prepared or terribly interested in debating the upside of nuclear energy. I don't disagree with you. But the notion that wasn't a genuine risk that involved an entire town.
So the interesting thing to me is not that there's no risk. It's that any situation where there's an accident is used to question the fundamental technology, which to me points to a bias against it. Because when you have a car crash, which is a real danger to our lives, on a daily basis, we don't question cars. Even when a gas line explodes, we don't question gas to heat our homes. Maybe they will in the future. So I'm always looking for, where are people being prejudiced in their thinking? And I think that with a lot of industry, and particularly with fossil fuels and nuclear, you find an enormous amount of prejudice.
You guys use the term intermittency.
You guys?
Yeah, you defenders of fossil fuels, you guys, regarding wind and solar. Am I correct?
Describing how sunlight and wind come to the earth, yes. I use the term unreliables a lot, which people in those industries like less, but it's accurate, so too bad.
But why are wind and solar unreliable?
Well, so it comes from the basic intermittency of the input. And so that, then you have to find a way to process that input in a way that's reliable. And to do that, what you would need just on its own is you'd need a huge amount of storage to store it and then redeploy it. So you'd always have a certain amount of battery reserve no matter what. But if you take the unreliables off the grid, if you shut them down, you're pretty much okay. If you take 20% of the reliables off the grid, it's a complete mess.